What are the top 5 what-if fights that would have changed the course of UFC history forever? At 5, I have Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou. This fight would have changed the GOAT status of Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou. If Ngannou wins, he's the heavyweight GOAT and one of the GOATs of all time. And if Jon Jones wins, he's never going to get past his GOAT. But now because he dodged the fight and his heavyweight wins are versus Cyril Gane and an old washed-up Stipe, he doesn't get the same respect in the heavyweight division. 4 is DJ versus TJ. This would have been a double champ fight at bantamweight, but back in the day when this was hyped up, they couldn't agree on weight and compensation for the fight, so it never happened. But if Demetrius Johnson went up and beat TJ Dillashaw in his prime at bantamweight, becoming the first ever UFC double champ, he would literally be the GOAT over Jon Jones to this day, I believe. 3, we have GSP versus Anderson Silva. This would be a double champ opportunity for GSP. I think he's a little bit of a fraud in terms of him being in the GOAT conversation and the GOAT conversation at welterweight, because the level of competition that he faced was nowhere near what the current level of fighters are facing. But if he went up and beat Anderson Silva, which he went up to 185 later on and beat Michael Bisping, but if he went up to 185 and beat Anderson Silva in the prime, he would be a top 3 GOAT in my opinion. Number 2, I have Jon Jones versus Daniel Cormier, but at heavyweight. Daniel Cormier is a undisputed a lot better fighter at heavyweight than he was at light heavyweight because the amount of weight he was cutting. The only reason he fought at light heavyweight is because his best friend Cain Velasquez fought at heavyweight and they weren't going to get in each other's way, and Cain Velasquez could not have made 205. But Daniel Cormier versus Jon Jones at heavyweight would be a much more competitive fight. And I think that Daniel Cormier might have actually won the fight and been Jon Jones' first loss if it happened at heavyweight. And at that point, DC is considered one of the greatest of all time, and Jon Jones is just a great fighter and not the GOAT. And finally, the biggest what-if fight of all time is Tony Ferguson versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. Khabib has an undefeated record, but when you look back, the competition wasn't that great, and the first 15 wins were all cans from Russia. Tony Ferguson was the boogeyman of the lightweight division. Before he had his fall off, he had the stylistic attributes to beat Khabib, and the fight never happened even though it was scheduled like 5 times. That's the biggest what-if fight in UFC history.